welcome to the scene. I'm Blake Williams. G'day. 4 o'clock every single Sunday afternoon. It's all about great Australian and West Australian music here on Facebook and on YouTube, and of course on demand throughout the week whenever you'd like to get your dose of great Aussie and West Aussie music. With this show, we love checking out what's happening around the country and also right here in Western Australia. And a band on stage a little bit later in the show, the Steve Hensby Band. Amazing musicians, quirky songwriting. You're going to absolutely love it. But we're going to get right into it this afternoon with one of Australia's most loved bands, 11 ARIA Awards on the mantle, writing the soundtrack for Western Australia for 24 years. And I remember discovering the first album, Girl, at 78 Records in the city when I was at school. Been a fan ever since. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Stu and Kav from Eskimo Joe. Yeah. Thank you so much, boys, for being here. Thank you for making the 2-day trek up from Fremantle.
Yes, well, anytime...
I packed a lunch.
Did you?
Yeah. Anytime we cross the river, we kind of, we get a bit weird. So,
yeah, you do. But I'm glad you're here in the back streets of Morley, so welcome. Of course, brand new single, we'll talk about that. There's a brand new tour happening next year as well. But let's go back almost to the beginning, where so many great bands start, which is high school, which was school for you guys, right? At the very start?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, actually, me and Stu met when Stu moved next door to me when I was about 5 years old and Stu was 6, and we bonded over a love of Masters of the Universe.
Amen.
Yeah, there was like one Christmas where, I don't know if our parents like discussed it or whatever.
There must have been some collaboration there.
But, from all relatives, like grandparents and parents, like we just like got so many like Masters of the Universe figurines, and then that Boxing Day or whatever it was just like, yeah. And then
Grayskull, Snake Mountain.
Oh, it was all happening. So from that day on, a bond was formed.
Well, as it would do.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, yes. And so fast forward to, I guess, when we were about 18 or 19 and we, all learnt how to play some instruments.
Yeah.
And, me and Stu had been mucking around with some songwriting, and we kind of formed this, like, band that was like a folky version of the Pixies, because that was, like, one of our favourite bands at the time. And we called it Bumblebees, which... In hindsight, it's a way cooler name than Eskimo Joe.
You reckon?
Yeah, we should have just stayed with Bumblebees.
Yeah.
But, we chose Eskimo Joe, and it served us well.
Well, it has, absolutely. What about, when you were studying at school, was there any other plan to do anything else other than music, or was always music going to be the deal?
No, I wanted to be an electrical and electronic engineer.
Yeah, right.
I tell Stu's wife that all the time, like, you almost married an engineer.
Yeah. Damn.
I wanted to do like bionics and like prosthetics and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Robotics, and then I quit university to study jazz.
Yeah.
Which was great for my parents. And then quit jazz to do this.
What about you, Kav? Was there anything else in the plans?
It all feels very accidental, to tell you the truth. It's just brilliant that it's worked out well. I was kind of writing and playing music, and I don't know if I was overthinking it, but we grew up in the 90s, I guess, with like, bands like Nirvana. Obviously everyone had Beatles playing in their households and stuff, but like bands like Nirvana and then the Beastie Boys and stuff were playing, and I think really it was a lot just about having fun and playing music. And then we kind of stumbled onto this formula, which was myself and Stu and Joel, and people talk about marriages and those kinds of things where they're just like, oh, then I met the love of my life and it just worked and it was amazing. It was kind of like that when we met each other. Like I'd played in another band with Joel and we were kind of shit. I think we were okay, but in hindsight we were kind of shit. And then when me, Stu and Joel got together, it was just this like, really good formula of personalities. And I think that is the reason why we've had a really long career as well, because whatever happened in those initial moments when we were in the jam room together, before we'd even really written a song, it was just this, really good complementative part, a bunch of personalities. We still hang out, we still have a laugh, we still are writing music together, and whether anyone wants to listen to it at the end of the day, I think that formula of just the personalities working has seen us through.
But that's the thing, when it works, you just run with it, right? You just see where it goes. What about now? Because there was a bit of a break for 7 years when you guys weren't writing music together, and then you've come back to write some new songs. Was it like putting on the old skinny black jeans again? Did it just feel comfortable? It just worked?
It was like putting on the old skinny black jeans, but more like stuffing walnuts into a pair of skinny black jeans. You know, not a little bit lumpier,
a little hard to pull on.
Not quite as easy, but no, I actually feel like writing now in Eskimo Joe is easier than it's ever been. And if we lived in a world where, you know, record companies still did what they did back in the day, like i.e. physical records sold and people made money out of selling music, then there'd be no doubt we'd be, you know, in the studio right now making a record. But we've stumbled on this really good formula where we can get together and we can write and record a song completely off our own steam. Joel works in Melbourne producing bands. I've got a studio in Perth producing bands. So we actually don't use anybody else apart from someone to mix our music.
Yeah.
So we get together. It's really, really easy. It's super streamlined. It's almost like we had a really good purple patch around about the time we did. Like Girl was a really important record for us because it was our first record. You know, we learnt what it is to make a record. So much more work than you ever really know.
I think it was also the first time we took it seriously.
Yeah, well, we took it seriously, but there was money involved, right? So,
but I think, you know, it was the first time we made music that we wanted to listen to.
Yes,
That's an important thing, though, right?
That's a really good point, right? So, like up to that point, it was almost like a novelty act that we were doing. We were just doing what we thought. We were literally writing stuff in the jam room and then going, cool, the Grosvenor Back Room in Perth was this really big thing at the time, and they had this amazing all ages scene where before we'd even released anything, we were selling out these like 600 capacity Grosvenor backroom shows, and that was just the scene, and it was really, really cool. And then it was kind of, we just write to whatever people wanted to, what we got a reaction of. But then we were like, well, what kind of record would we want to listen to? And that's when we wrote our first album, Girl. But by the time we got to A Song's a City and Black Fingernails Red Wine, we'd gotten into this kind of writing formula where we were actually starting to you know, write the music we want and take control over what we were doing as well.
Absolutely. But at that time, when you guys were playing those shows and you were getting Triple J airplay and, you know, that was really kind of starting to take off, was there a plan? Did you have a plan? Or was it very organic moving to the next step? Because I think a lot of bands at that stage go, well, how do we go to the next level? Like, what do we need to do to get to the next level?
There wasn't a lot of strategy. Like, the last 6 years I've been in management and developing strategic plans. I understand how it all works. If I had to develop a strategic plan for Eskimo Joe at that stage, it would just be one page that said world domination.
Yeah, right.
That's it. There was no actual strategy. It was just we're just going to fucking
we're going to be
dominate.
amazing.
Yeah.
But we were really cheeky. Like we got some money from our record label to do our first record, and we went and recorded with this amazing English chap called Ed Buller, and he taught us a lot about songwriting. He taught us all about, you know, how choruses are meant to come in, and we listened, we studied and did the whole thing.
He taught us about boredom.
He taught about boredom. Basically,
well, what do you mean?
Well, his technique
with
was
pop music. You know, you got to keep them entertained. If you get bored, you're gone.
Yeah, and so literally the way he would do it is we'd play a song, and then we'd get to a point and like we're feeling it, we're right in the moment. He like, bored, I'm bored,
wow.
And we're just like, this part means a lot to me.
Yeah. Did it change the songwriting for the better?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we thought it was horrible at the time, but like any, you know, growth, it's like quite painful to go through.
You listen to a pop
also,
song.
you take those things on and you adopt them, and then a bit down the track you realise maybe that's not all for me, but I'll take these little bits. You know, it's kind of like you have to go the full way to come back to halfway kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Learn it, then cherry pick the bits that you really want to keep.
But when I said we were cheeky, I guess what I mean is that like Ed had this idea of what we were going to do, and he was like, he wanted to make like a Nevermind where every track sounds exactly the same, and we had no plans of doing that whatsoever. We wanted to make Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys basically, and so he was like, we got to the end of our time where we'd been in this really expensive studio, and he'd be like, cool, that's the record, and we're like, cool, see you, Ed. And he went back to England, and we were like, see you, Ed. And then we like took all the tapes and we went back to this little studio in Fremantle called Couch, with an amazing chap who's not around anymore called Sean O'Callaghan. And he was a guy who we did some of the demos with, but we basically convinced the record company to give us a tiny bit more money, and then we ended up mixing the whole record ourselves with him and just did all of the
Totally changed it.
all of the
Yeah,
well,
right.
the songwriting was still there, but all of the things that Ed said we weren't allowed to do, and we were like,
Yeah.
and we just we're like, let's do
We
it now.
have the tapes now.
And that led on to us doing a Songs of the City and Black Fingernails that we ended up winning arias for, for producing ourselves.
Well, Black Fingernails
11,
was...
I noticed.
11 apparently.
It's a lot
11?
more than I have on my shelf.
I've only got
That's-
3. How many have you got on your shelf?
the missing
He's got
arias.
5!
Hey!
Why do I only have 3?
Do you only get one?
No, you get one each. I think
you
he's
really?
just moved too many times.
Yeah, right.
I might have given them to people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they get lost around the house. When you've got so many, what are you going to do with them?
In hindsight, I
Holding
wish I'd
doors
have kept
open.
them, but you know.
So 99 Ways is the new single. Their tour next year in 2022. In fact, it was funny this year, March 5, I saw a bunch of people on Facebook, March 5 this year, post, went to Fremantle today to see Eskimo Joe.
That's the
No
best.
one's here a year early for the
Best
gig.
story, right?
So March 5, 2022
Yep.
is the Fremantle gig.
Yeah.
And it's, I know, right?
Like in hindsight, we probably should have started announcing the dates at least 11 months
Yeah.
out.
Because that was a few
that
weeks
would've been
before,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eskimo Joe's playing next Saturday. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But in true Perth style, it like made front page news. They
Did
were
it?
like- Yeah. No, well, not well. Kind of. We got all these
on Batuta.
these calls from Triple M now and 94.5, and they were just like, "Do you want to come in and talk to this?" And we're gonna do a live cross to the fan. The 3 people who rocked up were just like, "Oh, beautiful." No, I'm not going to come in for that interview. But
No.
Maybe
yeah,
we'll bring them up on stage at the actual gig.
that
Yeah,
would be
give us some
good.
VIP
Just to,
tickets.
humiliate them a bit
Oh,
more.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's 2 albums back to back, right? With a few extra little bits and pieces thrown in there.
Yeah, well, we're doing Songs of the City and Black Fingernails Red Wine from start to finish, and I reckon we do a stop halfway through and do a costume change.
Oh,
Yeah.
please
Like
do.
we should do like
We
full,
should get at the hair
No,
straighteners.
so we start like full 90s, like we'll do bootleg jeans and,
Yeah.
like...
Scarves.
And scarves were a big
Yeah.
thing for us in A Song of the City. And then we'll leave and we'll come back and the scarves evolve into cravats.
Love it.
And some waistcoats.
waistcoats,
Straighten our hair.
I'm liking the thinking. See, the ideas are coming. It's the new 2022.
And then we'll do an encore of, probably 99 Ways and Say Something, which was another song we put out about a year ago.
Yeah.
And
I want to throw some curveballs in there too.
oh, there's one coming, but you can't
You
give it
know-
away.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should play a song from that era in each capital city from that band in that capital city. So like Gurgen, Brisbane.
Oh, that's cool.
We've got to learn. Like, I know about you, but I don't even remember how to play half the songs on these records.
Yeah.
And
Got a year.
some of them
Yeah,
we've
that's
never
right.
played.
You've got
in
a
our
year to
life.
start practicing,
And
man. I
you
think
want
you'll
to
be all
learn
right.
a song from every city that we go to
I
as
do.
well.
I do.
Too much work, but the
Yeah.
tour does kick off early 2022. Of course, the new track is out right now, 99 Ways. But guys, thank you so much for driving up here to Morley and hanging out with us, and looking forward to the shows. It's going to
It's
be great.
not Paris Dakar. It's just like up the freeway, dude. It's
Well,
all
I'm
good.
glad. Well, you got here after, but he just complained for an hour and a half, so I'm just taking it from him.
I'm glad you're getting to know me a little bit.
Yeah. Please get up for Eskimo Joe, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio. And you guys are going to hang around a little bit.
Sure.
We're going to get the Steve Hensby Band on the stage. You guys can get up. Steve Hensby Band, make your way up. And if you haven't seen these guys before,
You're the only You're the audience.
they make a great sound, really quirky songwriting as well. You're going to love these guys. But in the studio, give it up for the Steve Hensby Band. Ship in, ship out.
Got to get to grooving. Got to get to moving. Got to get to grooving. Got to get to moving. Ooh, sailing up as black horizons blue. Ooh, heads in basements, hearts in shoes. Ooh, his sounds always smooth. They go ooh, 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 always improving. Propel you backwards when they shout. No, to moving. Got to get to grooving. Got to get to moving. Ooh, if you hang out with those modern guys, ooh, the uniforms always black tie. Ooh, I'd rather go where pigs fly and sing. They can make you sky. Sights and sounds that will remove you from the fire to the baruka. I have a habit I'm not hanging about. Make it snappy, ship in, ship out. Got to get to grooving. Got to get to moving. Got to get to grooving. Got to get to moving. Hey, got to get to grooving. Got to get to Got to get to grooving. Got to get to moving.
The Steve Hensby Band, ladies and gentlemen. Ship in, ship out. Mate, well done. Nice job.
Oh, thank you.
But you know these guys as well?
Yeah,
From, of course, you...
they're from Eskimo Joe, right?
Very confident, yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
I think we've met before. But you teach at TAFE and Kav lectures there as
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he comes in a couple of times a year,
Yeah.
so we get to hang and he
We
does,
high five in the hallways.
Yeah.
well. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's a
does,
good vibe. I
yeah,
get
lovely musical things with the crew.
that. Nice.
But
Well,
Hensby and I have also crossed paths in the Newport Record Club, which was something a friend of ours started, where bands or musicians from all walks would come together to play their favourite records from start to
Actually, the
finish.
drummer from your band is in the audience
He
tonight.
is, actually.
Russell.
hey.
I would also point out that he was the drummer in probably 98% of the bands.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Wow. We
a
should
lot.
get
He
you on the
likes
show,
a lot
mate.
of records.
There we go. Mate, let's talk about you. So you grew up in London, over there, and then but you studied over at Berkeley. What was the connection? How did you end up in Boston?
Well, my folks moved here when I was 9 from England, and yeah, I just wanted to get out and spread my wings a bit, and the opportunity arose that I could go study over there. So I was there for about 5.5 years.
What was that like?
Oh, it was incredible. Like really, particularly coming from Bunbury, Western Australia.
Bunbury to Boston.
That's
quite a
the name of your
difference.
biography, Bunbury to Perth.
Barno to Beantown.
Yeah.
What was the scene like around Boston? Because you've obviously got amazing players who are learning and studying.
Yeah, oh, it's incredible. And it was interesting because people would go to Boston to learn and then would take off to New York or go, LA and other places. But yeah,
Bunbury.
Yeah, Barno, back to Barno.
Yeah, that's it.
It was a beautiful experience and had the absolute pleasure of being surrounded. It wasn't like you were in America. It was like you were in the land of music because it was about 45% international.
Right.
And, I was a very odd child turned into an odd teenager that turned into a very odd adult. So I felt really at home. For the first time in my life, I was like, I'm surrounded by musicians. Like everyone's weird.
Well, that's
So
a good thing.
These are my people.
But music for you started obviously really early. In fact, when you were 11, you used to put on concerts at your parents' house, right?
Yes.
And charge tickets for it
Yeah.
at the age of 11.
Yeah.
It's an important part of the process.
Oh,
Commerce, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I wrote songs about being kind to animals when I was 11.
That was my question. What do you write about?
Yeah.
As well.
Did you guys write early stuff like
Not
that?
yet.
We,
that
we
ridiculous.
had one called the RSPCA Love Song, which was about eating animals. In fact, the chorus was, what was it? Animals are beautiful, but they taste so good. Yeah.
That's awesome. Festivals-wise, people see you playing a lot of festivals around the place. In fact, you're playing one for this guy in a few weeks' time, Fairbridge Festival,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
General manager of Fairbridge
It's
Festival.
literally my festival. It's just me in the audience.
Yeah.
And I have all these bands just playing for me.
Is that a COVID thing? Or?
King of the festival.
You have a throne.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
What do you love about playing a festival vibe?
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, the musicians that I have the privilege and pleasure of playing with, it's always lovely playing music with them. And you see a lot of people at these festivals that are real music lovers, and it's almost like you're preaching to the converted when you
Yeah.
get up and play a set. And then also as a punter, I really, like, my folks took me to Nannup from about the age of 10 when it was a proper folk music festival.
Yep.
So you'd see some real eclectic and bizarre music, which I fell in love with, you know, as a child, and it's just absolutely wonderful to be a part of it.
I love the idea of just going away for the weekend and not knowing what to expect or what's going to come on
Absolutely.
stage and
Yeah.
just taking it all in. You guys, you would have played, obviously, many festivals around the place. Something like Big Day Out, which was, you know, everybody went to Big Day Out back in the day. What was that like, those sort of shows?
We affectionately call it the big day off because it's literally the most cruisy existence on the planet. You rock up in a city.
That is so.
Come on, man.
We worked so hard for those shows. Like we really did. I mean, I think.
Okay, let me finish the story.
You finish the story.
So
yeah.
you get to rock up in a city and hang out with this amazing collection of bands that you've idolized for years. You get to rub shoulders with, you know, some absolute legends of the scene and, you know, hang out with them afterwards at the after parties, and then you basically get drunk, hang out with your friends and go home and then come back the next weekend to do it again.
That doesn't sound too bad.
It's pretty simple.
Stu's just sugarcoating the
They
whole
have a very different
experience.
experience to what you had.
He's
Well-
just going to mention the one time we played in Sydney when it was 3
Oh no,
million degrees.
I wasn't even going to say that, but I would say that the Big Day Out experience was that you earned the position to get asked to play the Big Day Out, and that was an honour. And then when you got there, you had to also win the crowd over, which was like a real test of your mettle as a musician. And then on top of that, like Stu said, you're rubbing shoulders with these other bands, and we definitely raised our bar massively by watching these bands. Like one of my favourite moments is we became kind of chummy with Muse on one of the Big Day Outs that we did, and they were
Right.
like, "Oh, come and watch this side of stage," and we were like, "Hell yeah!" And they had this amazing show with like screens and, you know, all kind of stuff going on, and we were kind of like, I guess, one of the earlier bands to start using backing tracks. And I remember people giving us shit about that, and we're like, you know what, we're big Beatles fans. If I saw the Beatles play, I'd want to hear all the orchestras and everything playing. So that was our attitude. And when I watched Muse play, when we all watched Muse play, it was like, you know, we had a click track going, and I think the drummer was in our band at the time was the only one on the click track. And when I watched them, there was so many technical things going on behind the scenes. Like, they were all obviously on the click track. They all knew how to come in at the same time.
Yeah.
There was lots of other things that I won't nerd out about too much, but we learnt massively from that experience. And yes, it was like a big day off. It was a big day off. There was lots of food and booze and all those nice things as well.
Yeah.
But you had to work for it
Well,
really
and like you said,
hard.
you have to earn your
Yeah,
position to be
exactly.
there. I remember seeing Muse at Big Day Out and then being absolutely blown away
Yeah.
by it. You saw these guys at Big Day Out.
Yeah, a couple of my mates, Lee and Sean, were playing in the group,
Oh, yeah.
and they gave me a call in the morning and said, "What are you doing? Come and see Eskies at Big Day Out." And
Yeah, sweet.
There it was. Yeah.
That was a golden era.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Lee and Sean.
Your new album, Modern Music for Modern People. Now, this
Quite.
this is a concept album. You don't get many concept albums. Run us through the idea for it.
So intrigued.
It is. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another day in my life, really.
Are you a modern person?
Not particularly, no. Yeah, more of a bowler hat and cane.
So
and,
it is
you know.
truly a concept record.
Yeah. So it's about Mr. Twister, who is a hairdresser who is horrible at cutting hair, but people flock to his barbershop in hordes because he's got some amazing stories to spin. And then Mr. Twister finds love. He's a part-time musician. His band makes it really big, but then fame, stardom, fortunes, the internet take over his world, and he ravels off into madness.
Yeah.
And then the seas rise, the oceans take over the world, and the world ends.
I know, it's
Whoa.
full on.
Gee, that got really serious really quickly.
There's an intermission on the record, which is one of the most...
Costume change intermission?
Is it John Cage moment?
It's
or is it
very,
like literally
very
4
silly.
minutes of silence? Or?
Yeah, almost. And it's one of my most treasured things I've written, and it's very, very silly. The intermission.
Can you tell us about the closing track? Like if this is a post-apocalyptic moment where the seas were, what's the closing track called, and like what happens?
Epilogue.
Epilogue. Oh,
Yeah.
of course. And what happens?
So it's Mr. Twister and his partner on a desert island.
Right.
And the seas are, they're the last two people on Earth, and they have to repopulate the Earth.
Oh.
Aye.
Are they both men, or is it a man and woman?
I don't know. That's up to the audience.
Oh, I like that. Nice,
Yeah.
good.
On the drive back to Fremantle, you can listen
Yeah.
to both sides of the
Yeah.
album.
Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
I will.
And then, do that.
And then the next
3
record, the next record that I'm halfway through writing is it's a dry heat, and it's about a post-apocalyptic world.
Another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the modern music for modern music is the journey
Okay.
to the post-apocalyptic world, and now
Can this be
in
the,
this-
Can this be the children of Mr. Twister? And they have populated, but now all they've got is an island, and it's really warm.
well, it's kind of like that. 'Cause it's about Perth, and it's the only place that fosters living life form left on the planet, and it's an ecosystem based around partying, dancing, and mining. So that's the that's the new record.
I love the idea, man. It's out there, and as is your shirt, but we love you for it as well.
Yeah, when a cupcake's going to come into
Yeah.
the storyline,
Yeah.
that's what I'd like to know.
Give it up for Steve Hensby, ladies and gentlemen. And for Stu and Kav from Eskimo Joe as well. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. They're going to get back up. You guys jump back up. We're going to sit down and watch you do one more song. So this is off the new album, Modern Music for Modern People.
And it's Alicia singing this next.
Alicia's on lead vocals for this one. Brilliant. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, as they get back onto the stage for Pucker Up, the Steve Hensby Band.
Crossed my mind the other day, if you were in a Shakespeare play, the character you'd be is Puck. You'll make your face look like a duck. Blow a kiss and give a wink. You gotta make your cheekbones sing. You're appearing in the pink. It need not matter, you can't think. Pucker up, pucker up, pucker up. To all my future sisters, I'm sorry, but all you gotta do is pucker up. Modern times for modern people. What you sow is what you reap. You're always thinking in past tenses. I need a vaccine for influencers. Really got 5,000 friends, pulling faces for the lens. I can see right through your soul. There's not very much to hold. I'm not buying what you sold. Pucker up, pucker up, pucker up. To all my future sisters, I'm sorry, but all you gotta do is pucker up. You may think that I'm backdated. You and your mates are overrated. You've curated a thin disguise device, like the gap size between your thighs. Gotta get the angles right. Keep your double chins all out of sight. Do you really think that you'll get paid for just doing a few grams a day?
The Steve Hensby Band, ladies and gentlemen, that is the scene for this Sunday night. Steve Hensby and Eskimo Joe will catch you next Sunday with Joan and the Giants. Thank you so much. This is the scene. Catch you then. Thank you.
I think I need another drink. It's